Hi everyone, the California State University is one of 3 public higher education systems in California, along with the University of California system and the California Community Colleges. The CSUs consist of 23 campuses educating approximately 486,000 students and employing nearly 56,000 faculty and staff, according to the 2021 CSU Fact Book. That, along with all the other sources used in this video, will be linked in the description. So here are the 23 CSU campuses on the map, and it stretches 800 miles from Humboldt State in the north to San Diego State in the south. And here are some fun facts according to the 2021 CSU Fact Book. Nearly half of the state's bachelor degrees are awarded by the CSU system. There are 3.9 million living alumni and counting. 1 in 10 employees in California is a CSU graduate, and 129,000 degrees are conferred annually. Diving deeper into the last point, in the 2019 and 2020 year, 85% of those degrees were bachelor degrees, about 14.5% were master degrees, and about 0.5% were doctoral degrees. The next topic of this video is going to be enrollment. Students planning to enter the CSU can apply through their online application tool at calstate.edu/apply. There's important information that you should review, including admission and testing requirements. For example, there's a temporary ACT and SAT suspension for admissions until the spring of 2023. Furthermore, the freshman admission requirements include specific high school courses, the grades in those courses, and graduation from high school. As for transfers and graduate students, it is stated that the majority of transfer students enter as upper division transfers and must complete at least 60 semester or 90 unit and require GE before transferring. For graduate studies, a student must earn a baccalaureate degree from an accredited institution with at least a 2.5 GPA and be in good academic standing. And at the time of this recording, the CSU is looking to implement COVID vaccinations effective for fall 2021 term or upon full FDA approval of the vaccine. Now, going over a few statistics from the 2021 CSU Fact Book, here are the past 6-year university-wide enrollment numbers. You can see a steady and somewhat consistent increase every year. And this is the enrollment by campus for the fall of 2020. It should not come as a surprise that the universities with the highest enrollment numbers include the likes of Fullerton, Long Beach, Northridge, and San Diego, as they are some of the more well-known schools and in populated regions. Consequently, Maritime, Channel Islands, and Monterey Bay are among those with the lowest enrollments. To break down the enrollment numbers as a whole a little bit more, first is the grade distribution. For undergraduates, about 16% of CSU students are freshmen, 13% are sophomore, 26% are junior, and 34% are seniors. For ethnicities, the 3 largest components are Hispanic at just under 45%, white at about 22%, and Asian and Pacific Islanders at about 16%. And lastly, the male to female ratio is at about a 42.5% to 75.5%. The gender composition for the CSUs is shown here. Please keep in mind that this is for the 2011 year and it could be very different a decade later. However, from this snapshot, the one big difference is in Maritime, where women only make up about 14% of their student body. The next part of this video is going to be admissions. More specifically, the CSU campus's freshman admission profiles for the fall of 2018. And here it is. Please feel free to pause this video to view the specific colleges of your liking. For the interest in time, I will not be going over every individual line. However, I would like to point out a few things. The first thing is that Bakersfield had a 100% admit rate. I didn't know that until I saw this, but I thought it was very interesting to note. The average weighted GPA for CSU freshmen was 3.38. The average admit rate was just under 60%, and the average SAT and ACT scores were 1058 and 22 respectively. I would say that these averages should only be used as a reference, and it does not guarantee admissions if you were to meet these numbers. For example, if you were to apply to more selective schools like either the Cal Polys or San Diego State, it would be safe to assume that you would need higher numbers to stand out and be competitive. Okay, so next is the cost breakdown, and it's split into 3 sections: living with parents, living on campus housing, and living off campus. And this is the table for the 2021 to 2022 estimated undergraduate cost of attendance. You can see that living at home or with parents is considerably cheaper based off of these estimates. Again, please feel free to pause this video to look at your college or colleges of your choosing, because these estimates vary. I would like to point out that the one college missing from this snapshot is Maritime, and that is because there are added expenses which include uniforms, mandatory medical insurance, and orientation. Usually in these types of videos, I tend to create tier lists based off a metric, but for this video, I will just include the rankings from different publications with no tier lists, and I'll explain later as to why that is. The first rankings I'll use is the US News and World Report college rankings for 2021. And here are the screenshots for the regional universities west and top public school rankings. To my recollection, only San Diego State is omitted because they are ranked nationally along with the other schools including the UC campuses. From this one source, you're definitely able to create a tier list, but let's add in another publication for the sake of completeness. And for this video, I'm going to include the Money Magazine 2020 rankings for best public colleges. And this is where it starts to get a little bit blurry. You can see whereas Cal Poly Slow ranked first in the US News and World Report, but now it's in the middle for Money Magazine. However, there are a few consistencies including Cal Poly Pomona, San Jose State, Long Beach State, and Fullerton, as they remain near the top, whereas Dominguez Hills and East Bay remain near the lower end of the rankings compared to their counterparts. At this time, I would like to note that these rankings are subjective and vary depending on major and personal preference. For example, here are a few major-based rankings from Money Magazine. And lastly, I'll include the Princeton Review Best in the West College Rankings in 2020. To conclude, I think the rankings make it a bit difficult to say which college belongs in which tier. You can certainly create one from a general perspective if you were to look at one or a few publications, but I'll leave that up to you. If you want to share your tier list, please feel free to leave that in the comments. I would love to read some of your thoughts. Last but not least is a fairly short and simple pros and cons list for the CSU system as a whole. Again, and I need to emphasize that these vary depending on the college. The first pro is the value. I think the CSU is a great bang for your buck. According to the CSU website, and I quote, "The CSU is the nation's largest and most diverse public four-year university system, opening the door to educational opportunities for nearly 500,000 students. Thanks to affordable tuition and a university-wide focus on achievement, students are earning more than 125,000 high-quality degrees every year." And to emphasize the affordable tuition aspect, the CSU mandatory tuition excluding campus fees is $5,742. And to bring that into perspective, the UC tuition is $14,100, which is more than double, almost triple. The second pros is less debt. In the 2016 to 2017 academic year, less than half of CSU baccalaureate recipients were in debt, while the national average was 65%. CSU students were also about 27% below the state average for student debt, according to a study project in 2018. Furthermore, more than 84% of CSU students receive some form of financial aid. The third thing is the student success improvements through the Graduation Initiative of 2025. The Graduation Initiative is the CSU's ambitious initiative to increase graduation rates for all CSU students while eliminating opportunity and achievement gaps. For example, their intentions are to raise first-time student graduation rates for the 4-year and 6-year students to 40% and 70%. The last pro is that the CSU system is the engine for social mobility. According to Chancellor Timothy P. White, the CSU is key to California's brightest and most hopeful future, opening the door to educational opportunities for all and transforming the lives of students and their families. In a learning environment enriched by the diverse strengths of our students, we create leaders who will bring new vision and strengths to their communities, to California, and indeed, to our nation and the world. Moving over to the cons, the first thing is that although the CSUs earn high marks, they aren't quite on the same level as some of the other universities in California and in the nation. Obviously, you can make an argument for certain cases like engineering at the Cal Polys or business at San Jose, but again, this is just generally speaking. And I think that's okay. For the price that you're paying, it's not the end of the world. You can still make meaningful connections, receive a very high quality education, and be successful. The second thing is the lower graduation rates. The 2020 graduation rates for 4-year and 6-year CSU students are 31% and 62% respectively. To make a comparison and for perspective, the most recent UC statistics show that their overall graduation rates for 4-year and 6-year students are 68% and 86% respectively. There's room to speculate why there's such a huge discrepancy, but there is a very large gap nonetheless, and it's very interesting to note. And that wraps up the pros and cons section and this video. But I hope that was helpful. Normally I would go over each university individually, but going over 23 campuses would have extended this video by a lot. But to be fair, if you want to see that part, please just let me know in the comments and I'll make it a part 2. But anyways, thank you so much for watching and I'll be catching you all next time. Peace!